What's up, everybody? This is episode 99 of Hoops Talk with Dave's Joint. Shout outs to everybody that's been supporting us thus far. For those who haven't seen any of our episodes, go check us out on YouTube, Facebook, and IGTV. But before we start, let us show some love to our good friends at Court Cred by following their new app, the Player Circle. It's an interactive app which lets players download their highlights and their pictures. So everybody, if you want to check out this cool app, it's called the Player Circle and it's on the App Store. Go download it now. But without further ado, we have a very special guest tonight. This man is a product of East Harlem, aka Spanish Harlem. He went to the famed Bronx High School of Science, graduated from UPenn, an Ivy League school, and is now the coach at Iona Prep in New Rochelle, New York. I give you tonight, Mr. Steve Alvarado. Steve, thank you for coming on to share your story.
Thanks for having me, Dave. I appreciate you always. You know that.
Indeed. So my very first question is, what's Steve Alvarado's coaching philosophy?
Main thing is we demand that our guys play incredibly hard. We demand that they defend at a high level, defend with energy, defend with intensity, defend as a team, not just as an individual. And within that, if you do that, you'll probably have a pretty good opportunity to play for me.
Well said. So when did basketball first begin for you?
As a coach or just in life?
In life.
In life, probably my father went to Power Memorial, and he was there in the late 60s playing with Len Elmore. And then he was still playing in some local leagues, including the infamous Schaefer League in East Harlem, and he became a coach. And when he was coaching in those leagues, I would tag along with him and shoot on the side. As a young kid, and I just grew to love the game. And growing up in East Harlem, we would just play outdoors all day. And then went on to play in high school and had a really, really good time, fun career. Got recruited to some low-level D1s and high academic D2s, and D3s as well. Was co-captain my senior year with my boy named Craig Carter, went on to start at Rutgers. He was a captain at Rutgers. I was fortunate. I got into 4 Ivy League schools for a full academic ride, and I couldn't turn that down. I was the first in my family to attend college. And I just felt the most comfortable at Penn because it was an urban environment similar to where I grew up, as opposed to Princeton, Yale, and Cornell. And so I decided to go to Penn. And from there, just went into the work world, graduated, went into the work world. And then I started coaching when my sons, I have triplet boys, as you know, when years old, I started coaching them at the local Boys and Girls Club. And throughout all that time, I was playing in local leagues and playing rec and pickup and playing down at Basketball City. And so, my love for the game was always there. And I got into coaching because of my kids. And from that, coaching the Boys and Girls Clubs, and I was coaching CYO. And two of my sons, actually all 3 of my sons made the Gauchos, went on tried out for the Gauchos when they were 8. And while they were down there, they all made it. And so we were with them for a year. And then the next year, the coach, Anthony Williams, asked me if I could be his assistant and help him with the team. And so then I started getting more experience coaching on the AAU side. And then 2 years later, 3 years after that, that's when my boy John New asked me it's been a long ride, and for the past, this is my 9th year in prep, and for the past 8 prior to last year, I'd coached pretty much 11 months a year. I was coaching AAU and high school. AAU at multiple age levels. I coached from 9 and under all the way to 17 and under. And so I've coached all over the place. Coached the Boys and Girls Club. I've coached CYO. I've coached Town Rec. I've coached county basketball, junior varsity basketball, and I've coached in the EYBL circuit. I was an assistant with the Rens in the 16s and the 17s. So, I've been fortunate to have all these experiences to kind of shape the way I coach the game, how I interact with the kids, how I mentor with our players, and my philosophies, both defensively and offensively.
Well said. So talk about your father a little bit and what he meant to your game and your development as a player and as a person.
Well, ironically, my father, I'm 5'11". My father was 6'3", and I grew big early and I stopped growing. So I thought I was gonna be big. I thought I was gonna be as big as him, and I stopped growing before I got to high school. But what I learned, he was really athletic, but more importantly, he was really, really good shooter. He could really shoot the ball exceptionally well, and I just kind of followed his form growing up. And I became a really good shooter, but I was a point guard as well. So I could see the floor really well, and then I became a really good shooter off the bounce and the catch and shoot. And what that allowed me to do is, as a point guard, it just kind of helped me as a coach to be able to see the game better, understand what my players are seeing or feeling when they're on the floor, especially the decision makers, because they're technically a coach on the floor. So my dad, being a coach and a pretty good player in his own right, just drawing on those experiences from when I was very young, really helped me help guide and mentor the way I approach the game. And of course, I learned from everybody all along the way. I learned from the guy who brought me to Iona Prep, John New. I learned a lot from him. I learned from Anthony Williams, who's a longtime AAU coach. I learned from him. I learned from my predecessor at Iona Prep, Koureissi. I learned from our opponents' coaches. So I'm not too proud to say that I try and take the best from everyone. I don't have to be original. I just have to try and enhance whatever people are doing that's successful. All those personalities and different philosophies together in order to try and make teams pretty successful.
Well said. So, talk about growing up in Spanish Harlem.
Well, grew up in the 80s during the, if you knew, you knew in the 80s, the city was on fire. It was the middle of the crack era. And you had to be careful walking out of your own neighborhood, right? So people selling drugs out of abandoned buildings. I mean, you could walk up to an abandoned building. There was a little hole in the wall, basically the size of your fist. You could reach in there, basically hand $5 and get back some drugs, right? So, so it was a time you had to be very careful and just have to be very aware. But then again, it was something we were used to, so we didn't have fear. And it was a gift to grow up in the city because it was literally our entire playground. So you could roam around. We'd walk everywhere. We didn't have money, so we'd walk wherever we can go. We'd walk down to the better pools down in the Upper East Side. We always just go to the pool on 77th Street. I don't remember the name anymore. But we would walk all the way down there instead of going to. I was right across Central Park Glasgow Pool. It was literally 5 blocks away and right in the park. No, we'd walk all the way down to 77th Street in order to go to the pool there. Because it was a nicer pool. We felt it was nicer, clean. It was just an experience to go to those type of neighborhoods for us. So, but really, what growing up in the city gave us, was a gift because we got to play every day. We played multiple sports, literally year-round: basketball, baseball, football, stoop ball. We played tag, one tag all, ring-a-lirio, kick the can, all kinds of really, really great street games. And I think, now that I live in the suburbs and my kids grew up there, they kind of missed out on those experiences. But they had a safer environment, they had better schools, so it's a trade-off. It's definitely a trade-off. But I wouldn't trade my growing up in the way we grew up, even though it was, a very dangerous time. And my parents were just struggling to get by because it just shaped me into who I am, and it gave me an inner drive to evolve from it, and to try and grow from it and try and give a better life, a less stress-free life for for my family going forward. So I've been, I was fortunate. I was able to come out of it and do pretty well for myself, considering that a lot of my classmates, let's say in elementary school, I thought were equally as talented academically, and for various reasons, environment, among others, they unfortunately didn't come out of it as well, and they're still stuck in this perpetuating cycle where they're struggling and they're still in the same neighborhood, struggling to try and get out, and sometimes struggling to retain jobs or living paycheck to paycheck. And it's not easy. It's not an easy cycle to break out of. Parents are working really hard. Maybe not have the same parental structure, parental supervision to help guide you and try and ensure that you achieve academically and give yourself better opportunities, right? Because we know the better you can do academically, the better opportunities you'll have. High school, for college, and then you do well academically in college, the better job opportunities you get. So I was fortunate that I was able somehow internally, in order to channel that to a drive to just make it out. And fortunately I did, but I recognize a lot didn't. And I spent the past 20 years giving back to my community. I started a nonprofit youth foundation back in 1999 that provided 4-year high school academic scholarships to kids who graduated from my elementary school. That was Our Lady Queen of Angels on 112th Street. I went there for 7 years. And so once a year, I'll give that B student who didn't have access to scholarship opportunity because they weren't an A student, right? They were B, but we would pick that B student who had the potential to achieve well academically, and we wanted to be able to place them in a stronger academic environment in order to achieve, because as we know at that time, New York City public schools were still graduating less than 50% of their students. Yeah. And that's after years. That's not even after 4. That was after 6 years. And so I thought that if we can just impact with my foundation, impact one student a year, and we can make a difference in helping some more children of East Harlem try and evolve and advance themselves in life.
What block did you grow up on?
I grew up in 107th Street and 3rd Avenue. It was Franklin Plaza Apartments.
Nice.
Over there, in Mitchell Lama Co-ops. So that was an oasis. We were lucky, right? We didn't go right? Because over they had their own security, right? We had parking. But then you walk across the street, literally you can walk 1 block across the street at Wilson Projects. So we were always battling and fighting with Wilson.
Well, it'd be like that. Did you ever take the boys to see the old neighborhood? Yeah, because we have family still living there, right? My boss, I grew up with my wife. I grew up, so I've known her since I was 7 years old. So she grew up in the building next to me. Her parents are still there. Wow.
And I still have friends who live there, and I have a sister-in-law who lives in that same complex. So and then my grandmother, until she passed, 4 years ago at this point. Yeah, 4 in the apartment that I grew up with. And so we bring our boys down there still all the time. So it was good for them because I live in northern Westchester, and so to be able to expose them to our community in conjunction with basketball, being able to expose them to a variety of different people, just made them more well-rounded individuals, and we were always going to ensure of that, right? We didn't want them to be sheltered growing up where they did. 45 minutes north of the city, which some people think is upstate, but it's really not that far. No,
it's not. But it's if people are saying that, it's because they obviously don't leave their own neighborhood or their own borough for that matter.
Yeah. So, and it's good for them to just kind of experience different things. Just like when you came up with Prep, you realized it wasn't that far from the Bronx. Felt like another world, right? But it's not that far.
I'm gonna say this. I live in the South Bronx, and we don't have any mansions around where I live at. The only places I know in the Bronx that do have mansions are either Riverdale or Pelham Parkway.
Yep.
And I live I live nowhere near that. Where I live on 141st Street and Beekman Avenue, 6 train line.
Yep.
You probably may know of St. Mary's Park, St. Mary's Rec Center, but my neighborhood growing up was very similar to what you grew up in the 80s. Like, things were very rough, and to this day, I'm a part of the 4% that has a college degree from my neighborhood, from Beekman houses. So I'm very proud to say that. And
big
yeah,
success.
man.
You're a big success story.
Yeah.
You should be proud of it because it's not easy.
Yeah. And right now, I'm an advocate counselor at this school in Brownsville, Brooklyn Democracy Academy, which everybody knows about. Right now, they're doing big things with the Adidas Legacy program. You know, all of our kids now, they because of that that Adidas Legacy scholarship program, they're able to apply to obtain scholarships for historically Black colleges. So that's something to look at.
No, it's tremendous. And you know what? You growing up where you did and now being at that school, you have a really unique and significant opportunity to impact kids and say, listen, you Brownsville, it's no different than where you grew up, right?
Yeah.
So now, similar circumstances, guess what? I'm here. I'm a college graduate. I worked hard for it. But if you put your mind to it, it's going to pay dividends for you. And so you're a testament to that, and you really can be very impactful if you put your mind to it. And you will be, because you understand it, you get it.
Indeed. Oh, so before we move on to the other basketball stuff, what was the name of your nonprofit organization, and is it still around?
It is. It's still in existence. It's called the First Estate Funding Corp Youth Foundation. It's FEFC Youth Foundation for short. And,
you said
First Estate Funding Corp Youth Foundation. That was a name. That happened to be the name of my. I owned a company called First Estate Funding Corp. It was a mortgage bank, and I was a mortgage banker. I owned a mortgage bank in the 90s to the 2000s, and so I just named it after the bank because I can leverage the name in order to raise funds for the charity. So I still have it going forward, and I still assist various charities, including the Boys and Girls Clubs in Northern Westchester. Of course, Iona Prep students who are in need time to time. You know, we have some kids time to time. They may need a laptop or sneakers or something like that, and so I assist them with that. And I help out some AU programs as well when in need, and just trying to give back best I can. So fortunate to be able to do that for sure.
So how many of the kids from the foundation attend Iona Prep?
None. Most of those kids were all East Harlem kids, and most of them were attending either Hayes or Cathedral or Hollows, because we did boys and girls.
Right.
So they attended mostly those schools. I mean, especially that 99 through the 2000s, it wasn't conceivable for most of them to even think of applying to an Iona Prep from East Harlem, right? Most of the time, you're not going to get the average student out of East Harlem to go to Iona Prep. Iona Prep is going to make an outreach to you, and more than likely as an athlete, in order to try and get you to come up. So so there's just no awareness that you can easily get there. It's probably 30-35 minutes from East Harlem on the Metro North.
Well, you could just take the 6 train to Pelham Bay Park and then get on the 45, but even that's tricky because the train station is nowhere near the school.
Yeah, no,
that makes it difficult.
What you have to do is you take the Metro North on 125th to the Crestwood station,
right?
And then we have a shuttle bus. So that's how Souleymane Koureissi, who's now at Richmond, he lives on 15th over there, and in 5th. He and his family still lives there, but that's how we got.
Yeah, man.
So that's how we got up to school every day. So that's how the kids we get from the Harlem and South Bronx area. That's, it's, maybe 40 minutes total, right? So it's really not that far, and we're able to expose them to really good education. Some pretty good diversity in the school, which is reflective the real world, the diversity of our school. We're fortunate, we have great facilities and, one of the best educations in the Catholic League.
Indeed. We're going to talk a little bit more about Iona Prep later, but this portion is about you. So, talk about some of the tournaments that you loved playing in growing up.
Well, back then, one of the big tournaments we had was citywide. We would play citywide, and they would rotate. The sites of that. Sometimes it was Crackers Whack Park. Sometimes it was Julia Richmond.
Yeah.
They were played in that park over there, and that was one of the big time tournaments in the city, and even down to and we like to play the local tournament at LaGuardia House. Having LaGuardia House time in the '80s, and teams would come from all over and play in there. So I usually play with a local team in there. I think my last year I forgot the guy who called. His name was Jamal, and he put together a team. And he called it the GPB, the Get Paid Brothers. No idea why. I was 16, 17 years old. We just know to play. I think we came in third. We lost to Kenny Anderson. Kenny Anderson had a team. He came in with a crew as a freshman. He was just killing. And so just grateful to play in that, and always obviously Rucker was always fun to play in, It's a great tournament. But those are the ones that are the most memorable growing up.
So, what made you decide to go all the way to Bronx Science?
I always did pretty well in elementary school, and I asked my mom one day what was the best high school to go to. It was the sixth grade, matter of fact. And I don't know if in your area you're growing up, but back in when we were in school, we would have these little autograph books that you have a zipper around it, and you would open it up and people can fill out messages to you, and you fold them up, and in there it would have, people would be able to fill it out and say messages to you, but it also would have, well, what's your dream high school? And then it had, what's your dream college? And I asked my mom, well, what's the best high school? She said Bronx Science. So I wrote in that book in sixth grade, Bronx Science. Wow. And I took the exam, hoping I could get in. I didn't know how I'd do, but I also had gotten into Xavier, and I had gotten a full scholarship because they had that, and they may still have it. They had the higher achievement program at the time. HAP would be like, I think it was a 6-week summer program. And we would go down there 4 days a week down to Xavier, take some class in the morning, do sports in the afternoon. And I was able to leverage that into a four-year scholarship there. But then I got the admittance to Bronx Science, and I was like, all right, this is what I was destined to do. And then ironically, I asked her what's the best college to go to. At the same time I wrote Bronx Science, she said Columbia, so I wrote Columbia. What I know, I was in sixth grade, years old. So it was just always in my mind to try and achieve the best academic environment. Now, again, I don't know what clicked in me. I was just fortunate to have that. So I didn't go to Columbia, but I went to Penn. It's Ivy League school, and it was a gift.
Wow. So talk about your 4 years at Bronx Science.
Well, it was an adjustment. Not simply just going there, but at Bronx Science, it was you go from a Catholic school with 50 people in your class, right? 50 people in your grade, and across. So that's what, maybe 400 people total in the school. And you go to Bronx Science, you have 3,000 students.
Jesus Christ.
750 or so students per class. 5-story school with a planetarium, taking it all the way to the end of the 4 train. so yeah, it's a big adjustment just trying to find your way. And I was fortunate that I had basketball to help me leverage friendships and connections. I didn't make the team. I didn't make varsity as a freshman. I was on JV. I was playing JV and also being the manager for the varsity team at that time. And I remember at that time, our best player was a guy called Val Carlotti, who went on to play at Yale. And then my sophomore year, I made varsity and got to play. And And then my junior year, I was starting. And, our best player that year was Jose Tavares, who went to play at Penn. He was 6'5", and we were big. And we wound up losing to that year. No, we lost to the buzzer beater that year. My senior year, we lost to Gompers in the semifinals. Because they only had a A and B in the public league during that time. And I think we were in B, so we had Gompers and Dodge and A. Smith. Were in our division, and we wound up losing to a Division 4 Gompers at St. John's in the semifinals. So anyway, so basketball. Just going back to your original question, basketball helped me to get comfortable in the school, right? Because it was something I loved to do, and then I was able to use that, like kids do now, to meet a lot of people. And so that gave me the anchor I needed in order to get more comfortable. Because at Bronx Science, you had kids. I'm growing up in East Harlem. You had kids coming from all over the city, from all types of different races, different ethnicities, different economic circumstances. You had some very wealthy kids coming as well. And so, that could be intimidating especially back then, because you didn't have access to the internet where you can kind of just get experience to any of these things or understand or stand or learn about it. You're just living it and learning as you're living it. So I think it's a wonderful place. Met a lot of really good people. Grateful for it. Grateful for everything it gave me and taught me. Had a phenomenal basketball experience. I played for a legendary coach called his name was Ralph Baycoat. And still have lessons. Some of his stuff from practices and games still I picture in my mind. And I'm sure I channel that sometimes too, some of the players, but yeah, it's a phenomenal place, and obviously a tremendous educational experience that I was able to leverage and get into a pretty good university.
So how was that commute every morning where you probably had to get on the 6 train on 110th, get off on 125th Street, and get off at Marshall Parkway or something like that?
No, you take the 4 to Bedford Park.
Oh, that's right, because it's near Lehman College.
Yeah, but it's on the other side in between Lehman College and Bronx Science is a field called Harris Field. Mm-hmm. Pretty big field. So it's a pretty long walk. From Bedford Park when you get off that exit. It's maybe I'm exaggerating, but that had to be at least a 6 or 7 minute walk. It was at least a quarter of a mile, maybe more, just off the train. It felt like forever, especially in the winter. But yeah, the school was literally in between the 2 train stops. So everyone just get on Bedford Park and get off, and then you go back and you get on Bedford Park as well. So it wasn't a bad ride, but you had to go up there,
Yeah, man. So how was the team back then at Bronx Science?
We were really good. We were, we had several Division I players that came out of the program during that time. We were always right near the top of our division. As I mentioned, in my senior year, we lost in the city semis to a Gompers team we had just beat a few weeks prior at home, and they were very good. But my senior year, Craig had averaged, I think, like 32 points a game. I think I was averaging like 10 assists a game, 12 points, something like that. Obviously, it's easy when he's scoring 32, you just got to pass him the ball. He made it easy to get a lot of dimes. So we were good. My junior year, we were big, relatively speaking, for that time. Our center was 6'8". And like I said, Jose, who went on to Penn, was 6'5". We had another kid who was 6'5". Another kid who was 6'6". So we were big and we were good, and we got upset in the playoffs that year. But the team was good. During my time there, I think we sent 4 guys played Division I basketball, which is pretty good coming out of Bronx Science, right? So, it was pretty good. We were pretty good team, pretty good competition for sure.
Shout outs to the Bronx Science High School class of 1988.
7, actually.
Oh, 1987. Pardon me. Shout out to the Bronx Science class of 1987. So, how was your recruitment in high school?
For me, yeah, well, at the time, I was getting calls from Lehigh and Lafayette, Holy Cross, RPI, which is High Academic Division 3. Who else? Haverford College, which is a high academic school out in Pennsylvania, Swarthmore. So that's what I remember off the top of my head. And so, and the thing was, I went out to visit Haverford College in Pennsylvania. It's actually about 2 miles. It's about actually 4 miles from Villanova, right down Lang Avenue. And what happened was, it's a very small school. It's like 1,200 students, and it's got this beautiful campus. Again, I grew up in East Harlem. It's got this beautiful campus, and with a big lake in the middle, and they had co-ed dorms and co-ed bathrooms, and they have what's called the honor code, meaning, and so that meant that for exams you could just take them whenever you want, wherever you want. So I just fell in love with that whole philosophy, and the coach really wanted me to go there and play. And I'm like, this is a great place. It's beautiful here. I'm just gonna go there because I really liked it. And eventually I wound up getting in really to school. But again, when I actually got into Penn and Princeton, Cornell, and Yale, and it was for free. We rise to Orlem. And so I just had to, so I couldn't turn down an Ivy League education, and very fortunate. And Penn was a place.
Wow.
So, and ironically, Penn was only about 10, 15 minutes from Haverford. Matter of fact.
So you definitely fell in love with Penn.
Yeah.
I mean, I would definitely fall in love with Penn too if I had the chance to go there.
Yeah, no, it's got a great urban campus, tremendous walk. We had a good community there. We had decent diversity, and the students of color were really, really united and strong. And had really good Greek life, especially Black Greek life. Sports were pretty strong as well. So just offered a lot of, and it wasn't too far from home. It was only two hours by train. And again, it was in West Philadelphia, which was not dissimilar to East Harlem. So just kind of all those factors played into just being comfortable. And they had a really good engineering. They have a really good engineering school. I got into the engineering school because I thought I loved math and science. I thought I wanted to be an engineer. So I just thought it was the best fit for me at the time. And I wound up going there and realizing that I really enjoyed business, and I switched over to becoming an economics major. I fought against it. I was like, no, you got to stay with it. But no, it was, I transitioned to economics, and eventually got my economics degree.
Wow, that's what's up, man. That's big right there.
Yeah.
Economics. I know. I was a business major myself, so I know that's a very difficult major.
Yeah, no, it is. But if you're just like anything else, if you become really interested in the subject matter, or you're passionate about it, it makes it much easier to digest. Higher level classes are obviously even more challenging, but I really thought that was the path for me, and and I'm glad I did, because it just kind of laid the foundation for everything in my business career going forward. And so, ironically, my son Tyler is now an economics major. He's at Northwestern, and my other son Jordan, who's at Villanova, he's in the School of Business trying to figure it out. So he may be an economics major, he may be an accounting major, but he's going to go on the business track as well. So son's just accidentally or coincidentally or following the same tracks. But again, I want them to choose whatever's comfortable for them. But economics was a great choice for me, for sure.
Man. So were you at UPenn at the same time that Ali Denoise was there?
Yeah, Ali's my guy.
That's my guy too.
Ali's my guy. Yeah, he was really good friends with he's actually really good friends with my roommates because they were all frat brothers. They were all alpha men. My best man at my wedding was, I think he was number 1 and Ali was number 2 on his line. So he had his back. So yeah, so and we played ball. We played ball in college together, in the rec ball together. So, and so yeah, so I know Ali since then, and we connect time to time, and obviously support and everything he's doing. He's just his exceptional writing. He's probably a really good mentor for you. But he's been excelling at a lot of different venues. So it's great. It's the value of being able to go to a really great school is you wind up meeting and connecting with a lot of people who are going to be pretty dynamic in life. So he happens to be one of them.
Yeah, man, no doubt. So when you, like, the beautiful thing about Philly, like you said, 2 hours away from home. Another good thing about UPenn is once you get off that mega bus on 30th Street, you can just walk right around. You guys are right near Drexel.
Yep.
Downtown Philly. I know you used to venture out many a nights.
Yeah, you go to South Street a lot, right? You go to South Street, you go down there and hanging out, but you didn't have to do that. You had so much to do just on campus. A lot of the schools would come to our campus because we had a Locust Walk, and it's basically fraternity row. It's just frat house after frat house, and different parties would go in there. And and one of the best places to party was a frat. They called it the Castle, and they used to bring in DJ Sean Jody Diaz, who was actually from East Harlem. He grew up in my same block, but he was a year older. Big house music DJ. How back then house music was huge. So he would be DJing their party. So you get a mixture of people there. And so a lot of people would come to campus to party. We didn't have to go anywhere. So it's a great place. But, Philly's a great town. Philly has a lot to offer. Great college town. Sometimes you go to Temple, Temple's 20 minutes away.
Yeah.
Up in the north, which is where my wife went to school. She went to Temple School of Pharmacy.
Wow. So you guys grew up together and you guys went to school in the same city together.
Yeah, 2 years later she joined because she's 2 years younger than me. So
wow. Shout outs to Patty.
yeah. She was on campus so much people at Penn thought she went there. She's gonna hate me for saying that story.
So did you ever go to any games at the Palestra when UPenn or like Big 5 games or whatever?
That was Big 5. Big 5 back then was huge, much bigger than it is now. And all the games were held at the Palestra. And so it was great because you go in there and they had some great teams at the time. Temple had the great Mark Macon at that time was there. LaSalle with Lionel Simmons and Villanova would come in, and they were only a few years removed from the '86 national championship. Right, you got St. Joe's. So the basketball is great, and the place would really fill up for those rivalry events. So I had a lot of fun sometimes just sitting in the opposing section, student section fans, and rooting for the other team. Sit with people where you sit with some senior ladies with rosary beads rooting hard for Temple, and it's giving them a hard time. You're just cheering for Penn, and they getting upset. It's good times.
Listen,
it's one of the best. It's one of the top 5 arenas, arenas in the country for sure.
Oh yeah. I got the football stadium.
Yep.
I've been to the only time I went to a Penn game was I was there for the Ivy League tournament when the year they held it at the Palestra. It was a
Mm-hmm.
crazy day, actually. I had to go to I know Harvard was playing somebody else that day. And then after that, I had to get on the bus to get back, so because I had to go cover the Big East tournament championship that same day. Hit a traffic jam on we hit the mega bus hit a traffic jam going back. Like, and I barely made it by the skin of my teeth back to the garden as they were tipping off. This was
Right.
like
Hustling.
yeah, 4 years ago. No, wait. I'm trying to think. This was 2018. Yeah, 2018 to be exact. Villanova was playing Providence at the Garden, the Big East Championship. But yeah, that Palestra experience was great. And another thing I love about the Palestra PCL championship game every year in February. Did you ever get to see any of those?
Oh, I didn't. I
Damn.
didn't at the time, but man, they packed that gym. It's big time basketball too. I mean,
And
those
they
Catholic leagues
and
there
they're
are,
still packing it too. Like on any
yeah.
given night, playoff time, like you got 9,000 people in the stands. That's like 3 times more the CHSAA. You
I
know what I'm
know.
saying? But then again, they have way more space. Fordham can only hold maybe 3,000
Yep.
at best. But yeah, twice the size as the CHSAA brings out. And you know, Philly, they really support their basketball players. Not to say New York doesn't, but you know, Philly, they really, really support. Like,
Yeah, no, those fans are passionate and they come out for those games.
yeah, man.
Like I said, they have big time basketball. You know,
Yeah.
those are big time rivalries. A lot of times it's just neighborhood rivalries too, right? Those kids quite often just go in their neighborhood and it's just kind of and battling those Catholic League teams, neighborhood against neighborhood is really sometimes what it is. They're really intimate, and so I know you got to experience that, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. Did you ever get to go to any Sixers games at the Spectrum?
Yeah, I did.
How was the old Spectrum?
It was awesome. What you don't know is that I was a big Sixer fan.
Over the Knicks?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
What happened was I was a big Dr. J fan.
That makes sense.
And then they drafted Charles Barkley and I became a huge Barkley fan. He's actually my all-time favorite player.
Which explains the Instagram handle.
Correct. I wore his number in high school, and that explains the Instagram handle. So I was a big Sixer fan, and so I didn't get to go to too many because remember I was a college student. I didn't have money. I went to a few, and that was a lot of fun. It was good. They had the old PA announcer was Dave Zinkoff, and he was a character. People don't know that, but he really was a unique character with the way he would announce the games and just simple things. So it was good times, good basketball. Still pretty good then, but with Charles and stuff.
Shout out to the UPenn graduating class of 1992.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
So after UPenn, so you went into the finance world?
Yeah, I went into mortgage banking. Became a loan officer for a mortgage bank, and I just thought I would work for a year or two. I just wanted to take a break, and I thought I was going to go to law school. And started doing fairly well at it. And when that 2-year mark hit, I was doing so well. I said I can't go back to school, and I started my own mortgage brokerage with a partner at the time, and that was 94. And then 3 years later, I started a mortgage bank.
Wow, that's great right there.
Hit and scale back operations, but still staying in finance and the mortgage industry, and right now just doing a lot of private lending. So the beauty of being a business owner is that it gives me the flexibility it gave me, and it still gives me the flexibility to coach. And that's how I'm able to have the time to coach basketball. A lot of people are surprised that to learn that I don't work at Iona Prep. I'm not a teacher there. I just come in to coach. So people just assume I do, but I don't. And but again, because I own and manage my business, I can schedule around it. And so people are used to my very long lunch breaks during this from 4 to 6:30. It's really just late lunches. I try and get a lot done early in the day. So it's a long day, but it's worth it. And so I'm fortunate for that.
So talk about SNG Capital Partners.
Yeah, that's my current platform. It's a private lending company. We lend to people who own or are purchasing investment real estate, primarily in the tri-state area, but we do lend nationwide, and have a group of very wealthy investors who invest in our platform in order for us to lend to different owners. And so it's a good business. I enjoy it. I have one other partner who's also a very, very good friend of mine. His name is John New. And, and I'm thankful because I enjoy what I do. And I get to help a lot of people along the way because they sometimes just in need of money. They have a lot of equity tied up in their property, but they don't have cash, and they need access to quick cash, and that's what we can come in and give them in the system. So, we lend anywhere from $100,000 to $10 million. So,
whoa, wow.
We help different people across the spectrum. So it's been business that's good to me. It's helped me raise my family, helped me put in my boys through college right now. So we're doing pretty well.
That's beautiful, man. Like, how does it feel to own your own company instead of, like everybody loves the work, we all need to work. We all gotta have, jobs. We all gotta have income. But how does it feel to own something?
It's liberating. It's liberating to know that they have the phrase, right? You eat what you kill, right? So my thing is, I know I have to. If I'm going to make that money at the end of the week, end of the month, I got to go out there and earn it.
Right.
I have to go originate it and source it and make a deal happen in order to earn it. So it's liberating, but it's also very stressful. And now, back when I had the mortgage bank, I had 35 employees. So the stress level was exponentially higher because not only did you have to make sure that you're bringing in revenue to the company, right, but you're also making sure that you're bringing enough to be able to support the staff and make sure that you can continue to pay them and not have to lay people off and fire them. And, if you care about people at all, you're worried that you don't really want to fire someone unless you absolutely have to and they're incompetent. You don't want to lay someone off if business goes bad because that can impact them and impact their families, right? Their families are relying on them and they're going to struggle to pay rent and struggle to feed themselves and their families. So it's good. It's great, but it can also be exceptionally stressful. At the end of the day, it can be also very rewarding. You have to be willing to work really hard and be diligent and persistent and consistent in what you're doing. But again, once you get to a point where you have business up and running, you can't take it for granted, but it gives you great flexibility in life to do things such as coach, such as just be around. I was fortunate to be able to be around a lot for my boys. I never missed their games. They played basketball and a bunch of different sports throughout high school, and I was able to basically make everything because of that. So owning my business, be able to allow me to do that. But you're not really off. People will call you at all hours of the morning. You get texts at 6 o'clock in the morning, 7 o'clock in the morning. You get calls at that time. You get calls late at night. Right when we were talking now, my phone rang. That was my partner calling me. He's like, "Hey, I called you." I'm like,
you can't even do the big red. I was just talking to my supervisor about this morning when we had our staff meeting, and we were talking, and I thought about the movie The Five Heartbeats, where Big Red, he tells one of his artists, my office hours are from 9 to 5. And in your business, you can't tell him that.
No, no office hours. If someone wants to call, I mean, you try and limit it, or I really try not to do anything between 12 and 7 a.m.
Yeah.
Ideally 11, but you just never know. Because
Yeah,
I have people on the West Coast who do business with and or who are investing their money with us, and just because it's 8 o'clock here, it's only 5 o'clock there. So if it's 7 o'clock there, it's 10 o'clock here. 7 o'clock to them is not late. They're still working. They may want to chat. So
even when you about to go to sleep. That's yeah.
So but that comes with the territory. Gladly accept it, but you just have to understand that that's part of the bargain. And some people just don't, they're not willing to do that, which is fine. It's not, being an entrepreneur is not for everybody. But if you can, it's rewarding. I strongly suggest to people, if they want to do it, try and do it early. It's easier when you're earlier in life to do it because you have less responsibilities.
Right.
Really much more stressful to try and open up a new business if you have a family already and you worry about supporting them, because you could fail, and that could be very, very impactful negatively to your family. So that's, luckily I did it very early, and was able to establish myself before I had children. So I didn't have that burden.
Luckily, I'm 28, so I still got time, and I don't have any kids. I'm not married, so I got plenty of time to do all that.
Yep, keep growing it.
Yeah, indeed. So let's talk about this next chapter, basketball. Talk about how you started coaching.
My kids were at the Boys and Girls Club, 6 years old, and they were forming leagues, and very young, I just exposed the kids to everything. We exposed them to all sports: baseball, soccer, lacrosse, basketball, even flag football. And fortunately, they had a nice little league for them. And then, of course, they're looking for coaches. And being that I had 3 kids on the team was probably, I felt it was only fair that I coached that team, right? So I was just coaching the little Boys and Girls Club League. And then the next step for them was CYO at 7. And so, of course, I'm coaching that team and just learning, just learning along the way, especially coaching very young kids. And then when I brought them down to try out for the Gauchos, my kids were pretty skilled players, but they didn't have that. They were up in Northern Westchester, so they didn't have the New York City toughness. So, what was eye-opening for me was bringing them down there and seeing how aggressive and tough those kids were. So it was great for them, and then seeing how demanding the coaches were of the kids at that age. They were very demanding, yelling at these kids and getting in their ass. And so I said, and the kids would respond. I mean, some didn't, but a lot of kids did. And so early on, I said, you know what, I can be more demanding of these kids. There's more to get out of them, and you need to push them and challenge them in order to learn how to be very aggressive and to be fearless. And so that was really instrumental in helping me grow as a coach, coaching the Gauchos for 3 years, 2 years, 9U and 10U, and then 11 and under we went to New Heights, and I think that was in 2012, I believe. I think that was 2012. So I was at New Heights for 2 years, almost 2 years, and then I left New Heights and I went to coach at House of Sports Elite. House of Sports at the time had elite teams, so I left New Heights. I said, I'm going to go, because I was just an assistant on those teams, and I said, I'm going to go and I'm just going to coach my own team and AAU, and that's when I went to House of Sports, and I entered that team into, at the time, the NYBL, National Youth Basketball League. It was their first year in existence, and they were really getting all the top teams in the country. And they were only taking 24 teams, and I said, and at the time, House of Sports had the Gaucho extension name on it, the House of Sports Gauchos. So I told them, Sports Gauchos, and all they did was they saw this name Gaucho. They said, all right, we'll take you. I had 3 players at the time. I didn't even have a team. But I took a leap of faith that I could recruit players. And at the time, I was able to get Bryce Wills from Riverside. And Bryce was playing with our guys during the summer and sometimes during off times as well. when Riverside and New Heights weren't busy, we were having Bryce, and we wanted Bryce to get comfortable playing our players because we were trying to get him to come over. And then I left, and Bryce always responded pretty well to my coaching. His parents really liked me. And I said, hey, this is what I'm doing. I'm playing YBL. I'm going to get some good players who are unselfish. You want to come over? And he decided to come. And that helped to transform me because I got him. Then I got Xavier Wilson, who wound up at Steppenike, who's now with Central Connecticut. We had CJ Wilcher, who's now Xavier, right? So we had CJ and a few other players, and we're doing pretty well. And then the next year we were doing so well, New Heights asked me to come back and bring my team. And that's when I wound up going back to New Heights for 7th and 8th grade during those years. And after my 8th grade year, when we finished third at AAU Nationals, and on that team at AAU Nationals, we had Bryce, we had Tyson Walker, Ryan Myers, Ibrahim Watara, Xavier Wilson, my son Xander. We had Spencer Curto, one going to Gettysburg, and we had a 6'9" kid. I can't remember his name, but anyway, we were loaded, and we wound up losing in the semifinals to a 2-time defending champ CP3 All-Stars, whose best player at the time, he was the #1 player in the country, Wendell Moore, who's now at Duke. And they had the Langley twins, and really, they had a really good team, and they were seasoned there together, and we were good, with Bryce and Tyson and Xavier. We had DeJuan Piper, who was really, really good in 8th grade. He went on to Dwight School. So, and then during that time, I'm at Iona Prep, learning there. So I'm using AAU and using my high school experience to just continue to grow as a coach and learn and continue to get better and modify my approach to the way I teach the kids. And so it was a really good journey.
Well, that's dope right there. So what was your best moment coaching AAU?
What's my best moment was at AAU Nationals run. We had a very, very talented team, and it was a 1-point game at half against a team that was a juggernaut. Anytime you win at that time, especially AAU was really, really good, and we had them on the ropes, and we were the only team that stayed within single digits of them. They beat everybody. They were beating everybody by 20, 25 that year, and a few layups here, a few layups there, we eke out that win. But to AAU at that Nationals was at Disney. And so Disney has great facilities. They do a great job. We were on the main court. And so that was a tremendous ride. And then we had a great summer with that group in the city. We won Fun Sport when they had the Fun Sport chip on the wood floor out at Brooklyn Bridge Park.
Yeah.
Yeah, we won that, and we won Hoops in the Sun, and we won Tri-State.
I remember that. Matter of fact, now that you mention it, I think I definitely did see you guys win Tri-State. I might have been there for that.
Yeah, we were playing Rising Stars when they had Hassan Diarra.
Yeah, I might have been there for that.
Right, and he was going back and forth with Bryce.
Mm-hmm.
Ryan came in, and so yeah, it was a fun group. That was a fun, very, very talented group, and so that was probably that was my best AAU team. But my most fun team was probably that first 6th grade group, because we brought our first tournament. We brought a bunch of kids from Westchester, and we weren't really big. And we went down to the first session NYBL and played the #2 team in the country, South Carolina Hornets, and we were winning by 1 with 30 seconds left, and the whole gym was packed watching, saying, "Who the hell is this team, and how are they with how are they battling this team?" We almost beat that group. We wound up taking that team and finishing 12th in the country, and it was all Westchester kids. And he was like, "How are you doing that?" And it's just kids just balling out who were pretty skilled and unselfish and playing tough, and so I think overall that was the most fun. And then our 8th grade, when they team turned 8th grade and we added some more pieces. That was probably our most dominant group for sure.
Wow, those are some memories right there.
Yeah,
AAU.
it was fun.
I can't wait for AAU to start back up again. You know, I'm not gonna say God willing, because I'm sure that there's a lot of plans for the tournaments to start up. You know,
Yeah,
but we definitely will see AAU again. I'm very sure of it.
Yep.
But moving forward, we so the talk about like where did Iona Prep come into play?
This is 9 years, so I guess in 2012, 13. Honestly, I don't remember if it was 12 or 13. It was actually 2012. It had to be 2012. So 2012, my guy, give me a second to think. 2, 4, 6. Yeah, so definitely is 2012. My boy John New, my business partner, asked me to come and sit. He told me, "Hey, I'm going to be they hired me to be the JV coach at Iona Prep." He said, "We want to help me." I'm like, "Yeah, sure, why not? I have time." And that year coincided with Ty Jerome's freshman year.
Wow.
And Ty and John knew Ty growing up because he had a son the same age, so he knew Ty a little bit growing up, and a few other kids, Patrick Fleming, who went on to be a pretty good Division II player at Assumption College, and so we had Ty and Pat on that JV team, and Ty, and that was a really fun group, and the thing that always stood out was Ty had just world-class basketball IQ. I mean, he was the most skilled kid in the gym, but he was also just mentally just well ahead of everybody, understanding the game and understanding how to make plays and understanding how to get a shot off and understanding positioning. He basically had in the gym range. Even at that, he was only 5'11" as a freshman, and he was shooting it out to 25 to 30 feet easily. And fortunately for him, but unfortunately for us, with about 5 or 6 games left in the season, they moved him up, which they should have. Varsity, he moved up to varsity. Mm-hmm. But that was the start of it. And then the next year is when I became the head JV coach because John stepped down. He wanted to watch his son play high school basketball. And so I took over. And then 3 years later, I won a city chip. Well, 2 years later, we lost in the city chip by 5. That was Bryce Wills' freshman year. And they had moved Bryce up with about 6 or 7 games left in the season. And he was our leading scorer, and I think second in rebounds, and leader in assists, and leader in steals, and leading in blocks. So we still made it to the chip, lost by 5 to Christ the King. And the next year, we wound up winning the chip over Hayes. We went 24-1. And then 2 years after that is when I got promoted to be the varsity head coach. So this is my 4th year as varsity head coach, 9th year at Iona Prep.
Wow. So talk about, being an assistant under Vic Carollo.
Well, Vic is a Hall of Famer, basically in 2 sports. He's a city champion, actually, I think a state champion in both football and basketball. So obviously his knowledge is tremendous. And the value of learning from what I learned from Vic most was the defensive philosophy and the intensity and the positioning that it takes, intensity, positioning, concepts. I learned a lot of that from him, and how just being able to defend at a high level with the team will allow you to be very, very competitive, regardless of your talent, and allow you to keep you in games whether or not you're scoring the ball at a high clip or making shots that you can defend and, really limit the other team from scoring and/or good scoring opportunities. You'll give yourself a really good chance to win games. And so, I learned that from him, and I learned about preparation. I mean, he was probably one of the most prepared coaches. He'd come in with every practice 2 sheets of practice plan and notes on different drills he wants to do, and he would scout out the other teams relentlessly and diagram their offenses and have a scout team run their offenses against defense over and over, so we learned, our Iona Prep team learned to just take away other teams' actions. So I think a lot of that had to do with his football mindset. You know, you have to do the same thing in football, and you just carry it over in basketball. You know, the attention to detail, the intensity for preparation. He brought that mindset to basketball and allowed him to be very, very successful, and his team to be very successful.
So talk about, you know, replacing Vic. Like, how did it feel being promoted to the varsity head coach?
It was great. I was excited for the opportunity. I never thought. He was there for 20 years, and he was basically at the time 50 years old, so he's not old in any way. And so I didn't think. I just always assumed he would be there, right? Successful guy, works in a school. He's a Hall of Famer, and so I didn't think that opportunity would come up. But when it did, you know, I said, "Let me apply." And I was really excited that when they promoted me, it was a great opportunity to coach at a school that I grew to love. I love the way the young guys become young men, and obviously being a competitive guy who loves the game, who loves to coach, to be able to coach at the highest level in high school basketball, it was a great opportunity. Obviously, it was also came with a lot of stress with it because you're replacing a guy who was legendary, really. And we had a very talented group coming back on top of that. So, you know, there were certain segments who felt that why would the school hire an inexperienced varsity coach? Like, I never coached a varsity game in my life. And my counterpoint to that was that, you know, basketball at any level is essentially the same, right? You have to be able to teach kids how to defend, and you got to be able to teach them how to score efficiently and play together offensively. It translates to all levels for sure. And what I wanted to do is bring that along with really good communication skills and being able to connect with our guys and allow them to trust me by establishing strong relations with them in order to help our teams be successful. And so I think when you can get a player to trust you and trust that you have their best interests at heart, they then allow you to coach them hard when necessary. Because you don't want to be that person who's just always barking, and they tune you out. You need it to be impactful. So that's, you know, Vic had a nice impact along with a lot of other people. And obviously I just bring my own personality, my own coaching style, and I just stay true to myself. I don't try to be anybody else. I try and be me. And what I've learned along the way is to just trust my gut and trust my instincts. You know, I'll take input from my coaches. I'm very flexible with that. At the end of the day, it's my, you know, since everything is on me, I have to trust what my gut tells me. And so I value our assistants, and I tell them, I said, just don't take it personal. If I can't take it personal, or I decide not to take one of these suggestions, I said, I will definitely implement some, but I won't take them all. At that point, you can, at the end of the day, I have to go with what I trust, because it served me pretty well in general in life and also in coaching.
So that first season, you guys went 21-8, or was it 22-7?
That first season we went 21-6.
Okay. Yeah.
We were 21-6. And we wound up finishing in a tie. We won, actually, in the last game of the regular season, we wound up blowing a home game. We were up 5 with like 90 seconds left against Hayes, and wound up blowing that game. And then we wound up into a first play tiebreaker with them, which we wound up losing on. They decided to have the tiebreaker on the outcome of the St. John's game. And I think it was if St. John's finished with odd number, like Hayes would win the division. And if St. John's won with the even number, we would win. And the crazy part is, I'm like, what kind of nonsense is this? But whatever. So
now, when you're talking about St. John's, you mean St. John's Prep or St. John's University?
St. John's University. So
what? So they wagered. So they made that decision based off of the score of a college basketball game.
Correct. That was to be
Wow.
played the next day. They said no coin flip. We'll just go like this. We're gonna have fun with it.
Wow.
And I'm a rookie coach. I'm like, what are these guys talking about? How is this make any sense? So anyway, we went with it. So now we're watching this St. John's game. And listen, winning the first place in the Archdiocese, you get a first round bye. You get a bounce to the semifinals. And that affects your seedings and affects your seedings for Fordham to get to the quarters. And we're watching it, and literally, I think St. John's was winning by 4. St. John's was winning by 4, and DePaul, they're playing DePaul. DePaul had the ball, and it was like 2 seconds left in the game, and they had their ball underneath their basket. They throw it down court to a kid at the 3-point line who catches, fires it, and the thing goes in at the buzzer. So we wound up losing the division on a buzzer, a meaningless 3-point buzzer beat by DePaul. I was with my wife in bed cussing up a storm. Like, you kidding me? In hindsight, it's hysterical, but so we wound up losing that. So we wound up being in an Archdiocesan semifinal matchup against Stepinac that year. That was the year they won the Federation. And about 3 weeks prior, we had come back at Iona College from down 13 to beat them. And so it was a close game in the first half, but we just couldn't make shots. And then they got hot in the third quarter, and they just wound up pulling away by double digits. So that put us in a bracket with a bad matchup for us that year was Malloy in the quarters. And if you recall, Malloy had Moses, they had Cole, had Khalid Moore, right? So they had 2 McDonald's All-Americans and an ACC player, like, because Cole was a junior, Moses was a senior, and so and Khalid was a senior too, as well. And we wound up losing by 5, and we just a few missed steals and shots here in order to come through on the other side. But we lost to a team that, definitely they had better players, but we were right there. We had an opportunity to win. I mean, they had two NBA.
Matter of fact, I was at that. Was it the quarterfinals at St. John's?
Yeah, no, that was the quarters at Fordham.
Okay, yeah.
That was
because I'm sorry. I'm thinking about the following game because I know, Malloy did lose that next game. It had to be the Stepinac. Right. I'm sorry.
The semis were at St. John's.
Right.
So we wound up. So that little DePaul thing put us on a tougher bracket, and then we wound up losing a tough game to Malloy, quarterfinal game. So that was a tough ending to the season because that was a really, really special group, a really good group, 20 plus win season, with some really good players that I grew up with, that I knew that I recruited to the school, that I knew since they were young teenagers. Bryce, I coached since he was 11 years old, probably coached him a couple hundred games up to that point. And so that was a tough ending to our season. But again, it was a great year and a lot of really great memories from that first year.
Now talk about the first 2 games in that season, between you guys and Stepinac, the rivalry games. Now you guys are in the AA. Before, you guys used to play in sold-out gyms against one another, and now you guys are playing in bigger venues now. Like, talk about the games at the county center and Iona College.
Yeah, so that year, my first year, Stepinac decided to hold their home game. They decided to host it at the Westchester County Center. And for those who don't know, the Westchester County Center holds approximately 3,500 fans. So they had a really, obviously, an excellent team who wound up going on to win the Federation, and we wound up having a really, really, really good team too, with 3 or 4 Division I players ourselves. And so they decided to hold, it's a big time rivalry. Both our gyms sell out. It's about 1,200 people per gym. And, nobody knew at the time that you to get that kind of demand, but that game sold out days in advance and the gym was packed. And it was such build up to the game, so much media, so much press. And the amazing thing is that the game wound up living up to the hype. It was back and forth the whole game, players making great shots. RJ Davis was only a sophomore. He made some great shots down the stretch. We made some great shots. And then they pulled ahead with under a minute left. A shot by RJ Davis. And then we came down and missed. And I think they came down and they probably had 2 free throws. And then we had Solomon Koureissi hit a 3-point buzzer beater. We had the ball side out with like 6 or 7 seconds left, and he hit a 3-point buzzer beater to go to overtime. And then the first overtime, they got up again by 3. We were winning again, and then I think Alan Griffin hit a big 3 to tie, and then we missed. Then they came down, and they wound up going up by 3. And then Romar Reed, who's now at Manhattan College, hit a big 3 from the right corner to send it to double overtime. But they wound up coming up on top, winning 82-78, and it was just an incredible high school game. Lived up to its billing. Sold out arena for a regular high school season game to get 3,500 fans in New York was incredible. And so after that game, our administration made a decision to try and move the game to Iona College for Super Bowl Saturday. Now Iona College their capacity is 2,500, so our game sold out exceptionally quick, right? Because everyone wanted to be part of the matchup. And in that game, Stepanak came out. Our kids were fired up because they lost, and they're the Gaels. Iona College with the Gaels, and we're the Gaels. It was a great home court thing for us. Stepanak came out exceptionally hot. They were making shots from all over the place, and we got down by 13 at half. And but our kids stuck with it, and they made a big comeback, rousing comeback, and in the fourth quarter just wound up being able to pull away to beat those guys. Another great game. So we've been able to give the fans some pretty good experiences with our battles. Every year we seem to split those games. The very next year we started 2 freshmen, Isaac Gonzalez and RJ Green, after everyone graduated. And we're going into the county center game, sold out again, and everyone's expecting Stepanak to blow the doors off of us. And we wound up pulling off the upset, and that's what rivalry games do, right? Anybody can beat anybody, no matter who you have, what your talent is, or how young you are. And then they wound up getting us in Iona College, and that was when AJ Griffin had like 5 blocks, and he was going crazy. And then last year, we did the reverse again. They got us at the county center, sold out. Then we went to Iona College, sold out again. And we were able to come out. I think we won by 5. So the rivalry is great. It's great for county basketball. I think it's great for New York basketball.
Right. But more importantly for Westchester.
Yep.
Because I understand that Stepanak, being that they've been so good and you guys have been so good, people like they love to associate both Stepanak and Iona Prep with New York City. But I feel like in a way that's kind of a disrespect to Westchester County. Because if you're going to talk about Stepanak and Iona Prep, you got to mention the Section 1 schools too. And even though those schools don't play in New York City, you know what I'm saying? They still deserve the mention too. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But the only connection that y'all have to the school, to the city schools, is the fact that they're in the AA. You know what I'm saying? Because I remember the days when Iona Prep was in the A division and Stepanak was in the A division, but no one paid. I would say people paid attention to them then, but you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. But being in AA also, it also is naturally going to increase your exposure.
That too, yeah.
And quite frankly, it's going to allow you to recruit the better players. Right, because they're at the highest level. So that just goes hand in hand. And so, listen, we play in one of the top leagues in the country. There's no question. Top 5, there's no question in my mind. Year in, year out, one of the top 5 leagues in the country. Our players are thriving all over college from our league. And our games are always exceptionally competitive year in, year out. It's really good basketball.
Now talk about, your second season. You guys went 13-15. Like, how tough was it, dealing with a young squad after the season you had prior?
We literally came back with no one of any experience. So that was really, I had to be very hard on those guys early and demanding, because losing, I'm just not going to accept losing because we're young and inexperienced, right? I think if you're talented enough and you can come together as a team and play as a team, you can be pretty successful. And we got off to a really good start. We were probably 6-1 or 7-2 going into that step in that game. And then we wound up winning that game. And I'm like, okay, we're settled now. We can just build on that. We can go forward. And then we went on a long losing streak. And, started to catch up, and the length of the season, I think, caught up to our players. And then, you had some disgruntled players because they thought they should be playing more, and we have 2 freshmen who are starting and getting a lot of minutes. And so that's always challenging, because the upperclassmen, think that because they're upperclassmen, think they deserve more opportunity. And meanwhile, our freshmen were just statistically and just visually were just playing well and playing better. And so trying to balance out that team dynamic was difficult, but we got to the end of the season, and even with that group starting 2 freshmen, which I don't know when the last time a team in the Catholic League AA started 2 freshmen, let alone start 2 freshmen and make it to the city quarterfinals again. And we did. We made it to the city quarterfinals, and we wound up playing Lockland with the Champagne twins. Right. And the thing is that we had gone in, when we played them in the regular season, we went into their gym and they were ranked 3rd in the state, and we beat them in their gym. Right. So they were ready for us. And, we gave a good battle. We just couldn't make shots, and they played better, and they were just better. They should have won. But, we went in there thinking, we just beat these guys. You can beat them again. Why not? So that was a tough loss quarterfinal team, but that team gave me everything they had, and they were really tough. That was a tough-minded group. I had some tough captains and senior captains and stuff. So, and then this year, again, we were still, we were better. I think we were better overall, the league tougher, and somehow we scrapped our way. Our best players were probably young, but we still scrapped our way to a city quarterfinal game where we missed out an opportunity to try and upset our rival Stepanak, because that's who was scheduled to play, if you recall.
Yeah, y'all was supposed to play them on, I guess, was it the 8th of this season?
Yeah, that sounds about right. That Sunday the 8th, I think, is right. Yep, I believe that's correct.
Yeah. So how did the kids react when COVID ended the season?
They're all unhappy. Everyone really wanted to play that game. They wanted one more opportunity just to play against their rivals.
Yeah.
Right. The biggest game of the year is always going to be Stepanak. Right. That's a big rival. All the kids know each other from the county. For the most part, they're friends, except when they play, and they just battle it out. And then afterwards, they're brothers again, and which is phenomenal. So they wanted another opportunity to play against them again on a big stage, right? An opportunity to maybe defeat them in a playoff game, which would be even more meaningful for them. And so, I think for their season to end like that was very, very disappointing. I think every player wants their season to just end on the floor, and obviously this time is unprecedented. And so, we had long talks about just maintaining perspective. I said, things could be worse. I said, your families could be suffering from illness, can be sick. You could have people, hopefully, not dying, but you have people in your family dying. I said, so just be thankful that over the next few months, because you could tell at the time by the way the news was going and the way the world was going that we were going to be in this for a while. I said, just be thankful that your family will hopefully keep their health, and you guys have a roof over your head, and you have plenty of space to work, and you have plenty of food to eat, and you have Wi-Fi, because all our guys I know have Wi-Fi, and some kids don't have Wi-Fi, online. They got to take it, they got to take online classes. How you take online classes? You don't have Wi-Fi in your house. So they keep it in perspective,
Right.
So I have a good group of kids, and they get it. Doesn't make it easy on them, but they get it. They understand it, and so, we all miss the season. We should be in the middle of our season now. We miss it for sure.
So talk about your two the current players on Iona Prep. You have RJ and Isaac. You've had them since freshmen. Talk about what they've meant to the program since day one.
Well, to consider that they came in and as freshmen performed exceptionally well with all the pressure on them, right? Being maybe the best players, some of the best, not the, but some of the best players on the team, and being asked to perform at a high level, regardless of the fact that they were freshmen. And then having to deal with, issues that people felt it wasn't fair, that they were being, they were playing a lot because of their age or their class. And so, they were mentally tough, and they were able to perform at a pretty good level. I think last year they went through some growing pains. Our league is relentless. They still had a pretty solid year overall. RJ in particular had a really good year, I think, overall. Isaac had some physical ailments that held him back. And, he was struggling at times for sure. But they are, their off season, they've been working relentlessly to improve their overall game, to improve their bodies, which they both have done in preseason events. They played exceptionally well. And, I'm excited for them for their future, because I think they're going to set themselves up for some good opportunities for schools.
Wonderful. So talk about the other players on the team.
Well, we have
some other standouts.
So Isaac and RJ are juniors. We also have another junior, Orlando Wallace, who's 6'9", legitimately 6'9", bare feet. And he's just a bundle of potential. He's he runs the floor really well. He's got great rebounding and shot blocking instincts. He's still raw offensively. He was injured all of last year as a sophomore, so that hurt him. And the pandemic hurt him because he needed to play games. This spring AAU season, he needed to just see floor time and be in the gym consistently, and he lost that as well. So he's working really hard. He's gotten stronger. And so we, and he's got 4 or 5 Division I offers already as well. So, in that junior class, we have Andy Kim, who's 6'3", combo guard, who will be probably a really good fit. He's a great student, really good fit at a high academic school. So we're hoping he gets to a Johns Hopkins or an Amherst or Williams College or something of that extent. And then we had a kid transfer in, 6'4", combo guard Justin Allen, who's really now starting to play exceptionally well. And he has a chance, depending on how much he grows as a player over the next year, to be an Ivy Patriot type of player, if not worst case, a high academic D3. So we're really excited about where he's progressing. Then our sophomore class, I have a bunch of really, really talented players. Jason Rivera, 6'4", combo guard, who's very athletic, shoots it well. Dynamic point guard Blaze New, who we moved up last year, late in his freshman year. Just a phenomenal nose for the ball, great court vision, can shoot at a high level. Bengali Baridi, he's 6'4", long and athletic. Lawrence Mitchell is 6'2", and gets his elbow above the rim, dunks it on anybody, and gets the rim at will. So, and then right down to our freshman class, we have Jalen Prey, who's 6'5", and he just turned 15 on Saturday. His grandfather's 7'1". He could easily be 6'8" this time next year. Who's got tremendous footwork, really soft hands, great court vision. He's really learning how to shoot the basketball. So, we think we have a very, very talented, very young team, but very talented team of basketball players. And, we're pretty excited about what the future holds for those guys.
That's awesome right there. Now, there's a growing trend of Latino coaches in the CHSAA. For since the beginning of time, I should say, there's always been, the Irish Italian coaches, very few minorities. Now the Catholic school has 3. You, Ed Gonzalez of Bishop Loughlin, and Jorge Lopez from St. Ray's. How is it all of you guys are Puerto Rican or of Puerto Rican descent?
Right.
Talk about, having 2 other Latino coaches in the CHSAA alongside yourself.
Well, first of all, they're really good men. You have a tremendous amount of respect for them. They're very good coaches, right? But more importantly, like I said, very good men, but very good coaches. And I think just their hirings and my hiring is just more reflective of the fact that people are just more willing to just look at you as a person and see what value you bring to your school and to the team. And I think the more success we can have, that just gives more comfort and to people to hire, to make sure that they look at, minorities or men of color for these positions, because, we're not the only capable ones, for sure. And so, you have Zavarian Clyde. He's a great guy. He's a young coach. He's a good coach. He had a great career there. And a young man I respect a lot. So, I think the Catholic League is just evolving, just like the rest of the city and, hopefully the rest of the world. And so, I think for us, I think if we can continue to have some success as coaches, as well as run really good programs that produce really good young men who achieve at the highest levels, both academically and athletically, that will definitely open up more opportunities for guys similar to us in order to be able to coach in the Catholic League.
So, which leads to my next question. Let's talk about Iona Prep, the school.
What would you like to know?
Break for those that don't know about Iona Prep as a school. Break it down.
So Iona Prep has 200 students per class. We have 800 students in the school. We actually have 26 acres. So we have a really big campus. We go K through 12. The K through 8 is in a separate building. Has its own gym, has its own library, has its own athletic fields. Our 9 through 12, we have two full-size gyms. We have a college-style weight room. Our varsity locker is college style. A tremendous football field. We have an arts center. We have a standalone baseball field, 4 tennis courts, and we're blessed with the very best facilities and alumni who really support the growth of the school and those facilities, as well as providing access to underserved communities and underserved kids who normally wouldn't attend Iona Prep. So, and I've been especially focused on trying to fill that void and giving more and more kids who would normally not have opportunities for an Iona Prep education access to it. We happen to be the 4th ranked boys Catholic high school in the state academically. And so I think along with our facilities, we probably have the best all-around academic and athletic program in the state. And even if, maybe even if we're not the best, I know that there's no one better than, we're equal to or better than anybody in that regard. And so, we're fortunate to be able to provide some really good things for students and athletes who decide to come to Iona.
Wow. So you guys have had an extensive alumni base. So outside of Ty Jerome, whom we all know, you guys had Tommy Dreamer, the wrestler, John Donahue, Pete Gaudette, the coach at Army, Colin Moran from the Pittsburgh Pirates.
Yep.
LJ
his brother too, I think, is in Major League Baseball.
Chris Curson, the actor. Oh, Tommy Mottola. Wow.
Even that P. Diddy's son.
Oh, that's right. Justin Combs, right.
He went to UCLA. We had a Mr. Basketball, Matt Ryan, who went to Notre Dame.
Yeah, I remember Matt Ryan. He could shoot. He could also bang in the paint, but he could definitely shoot.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, man. Shout out
Great
to Iona Prep, man. That's a wonderful school, a wonderful oasis, and like you said, a different world away from the slums of the Bronx, Harlem, and New York City.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's what it is for those kids who are going to get access to it, you're going to be able to come to a diverse school community, which I think is really more reflective of the real world. So I think those kids who come, they get a leg up because once they go to college, right, college is, you're going to have people from all different walks of life and communities. And so I think they can be much more comfortable engaging anybody. And I think that's one of the really big benefits of coming to a school like Iona Prep.
Got you. So this is one of the questions that I love to ask before I lead to the final question. If you could go back in a time machine to 1987, what would you tell a young Steve at 18 years old as he's at a prestigious high school like the Bronx High School of Science and is about to get ready to go into the Ivy League?
I would tell him to two things. Number one, stay really connected with your classmates. Stay more connected with them because those can be some really enriching and fulfilling relationships that you should nurture more. And I think we all get caught up in being so busy that we don't stay as engaged or connected with people that we had some early friendships and experiences in life. One, two, the other thing is seek out as many mentors as you can. Are so happy and so willing to help and mentor you and give you guidance and give you advice. And so I think seek out as many of them as you can in order to have your back because they can really help propel you forward in better paths and help to eliminate some missteps along the way. So I think those two main things.
Final question. What's next in the future for Steve Alvarado and the Iona Gaels? I'm sorry, the Iona Prep Gaels.
Iona Prep Gaels. Continue to develop, train, and prepare athletes for whenever we can play because we really are like every team in the league, but we really are focused on winning a city chip. And that's our focus every year. But we think we have a really, really strong nucleus, young group who are growing together in the game. We're very talented that could potentially win a city chip over the next few years. So that's what's next. We're hopeful we have a season this year in order to help us prepare and become better. But nonetheless, we're providing opportunities when we can with open gyms and other things in order to keep our guys together and keep growing as players and developing their skill sets and developing their mentality and their mindset so that when the opportunity comes, we're ready to win that chip.
Steve, thanks for coming on to share your story. And I wish you nothing but the best moving forward.
Man, I really appreciate you having me. I appreciate you having me, my guy. It was good to see you last week, by the way, just a circumstance, but I hope to see you again in the near future. I appreciate you always, all right? And everything you do for the basketball community. You're a gift. You're a gift to all of us. So keep doing what you're doing, all right?
I appreciate it. Everybody, this is episode 99 of Hoops Talk with Dave's Joint. Shout outs to my guy, Steve Alvarado, for coming on to share his story. For those of y'all from Spanish Harlem, UPenn, Bronx High School of Science, Iona Prep, and Westchester County, and everywhere that you may know Steve at, go support the Iona Prep Gaels, but most importantly, his business endeavors and also his foundation. And also, if you want to know his story, go check it out on YouTube, Facebook, and IGTV. Stay blessed, stay safe, peace.
My guy.